My name is Carissma Dennis, and I am from India, born and brought up there. 4 years ago, a bit more than 4 years ago, I decided to move to Sweden with the company that I was working for. So I was working for Volvo Cars in India. I was leading their sort of marketing, and I got an opportunity to move to Sweden, to the global office. And I was actually pushing for it because I wanted to understand both the perspectives of it, to be in a market and be working so close to the actual selling of the product to all the way when you actually sort of strategize more on how you want to communicate with the brand. So that was 4 years ago. And then I have been working in a multiple of different roles within marketing and communication. I started in with digital experience, working with the website, and then moved over to more strategic roles within media strategy and social media. And my current role is I am a product owner for the Volvo Cars app, so the communication in the app. So the channel owner of what we communicate, how we communicate. So it's a very interesting, exciting space for me, from being a media strategist, leading global media strategies, to now focusing on the Volvo Cars app, which is very much the future. So that's my story. And then in between, I decided to do my Executive MBA from Stockholm School of Economics. And that was like 2 years ago now. So quite a lot has happened. Now that I think about it, I don't think there's any perfect time to do it. You just have to take the plunge. But for me, I've been interested in doing an MBA for a while, but I was very much of the school of thought of actually getting my hands dirty and working before I get the theoretical knowledge. So I had been working for about six years before I decided that, yes, I would really want to get more of an educational context to what I am doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's when I started to look around into different MBAs, executive MBAs. And that's what the beauty of an executive MBA is that you actually go to school while you work, and you have, I would say, the luxury to come back and put that into practice, which I think is a really, really valuable skill, because you can actually come back to your team and say, hey guys, this is what I learned in my last week of school. Why don't we try it? Like, let's do this workshop. So that's why I thought about doing the Executive MBA. And when it came to thinking of my choice in school, I was doing quite an extensive research. I was looking at schools in the US. Also, of course, I am from India, and there's some excellent business schools in India as well. But the fact of the matter is that I was living in Sweden, and Stockholm is a big hub for a lot of big offices, a lot of international people. Well, you have the Stockholm Stock Exchange, you have so much happening. And plus, for me, it was great to get, or that was my thinking, that I would get great networking just within Scandinavia, which is so beneficial to me and also to my job and to my future. So that was what I was thinking. And then when I started to do a bit more research about the school, I firstly read excellent reviews. The faculty was great, and they had a great program that really fit to me and where I was, just in terms of how the course was structured, and what all the course included as well. And I was really interested about the innovation and entrepreneurship specialization that they offered. So I think Stockholm School of Economics checked many boxes, and in retrospect, I'm really glad that I did pursue it. It was a completely different experience, to be honest. Like, it was a completely different ride altogether, because I think it's quite an individual experience as well. So I'm just going to give you my perspective, and I think many different people have different things to say. But of course, for me, I got into it being like, yeah, I'm going to get like a big, for me, it's going to be like great academically, theoretically, but also from a professional career, salary, like all the general things that someone's getting into an MBA to think about, like, and I've also seen it in so many MBA, like selling points, like you get X amount, like students have got X amount of salary raise, blah, blah, blah. So it was a lot of like the generic stuff about just wanting to jumpstart my career, being able to have this background where I can actually say like, yeah, why don't I try something completely different? Because I have this like foundation where I don't only have to do marketing, I can look at different other areas, because I've studied so many different things. I've studied like finance and accounting. So it opens many doors. So I guess that was like the initial thinking, which is quite, I think, common for a lot of people. But what changed for me is that the questions that I asked in the beginning of when I started the MBA and then when I finished were completely different. And I just feel like I evolved so much. And actually, in the end, you're like, yeah, the theoretical stuff is good, but you get so much more out of it just personally. And I think for me, it was a lot of personal growth and just a lot of like development, just realizing like who I am. And I mean, if you come to think about it, you're working 100%, you're studying, well, in theory, like 80, but you're like, it's how much you give in, how much you get out. So it's like tremendous pressure that you're under. And then you have your other life stuff to handle, And if I can do this, then I can do a lot of things in life that come close to like crushing me. Which I think is great. And you do it with a group of amazing people, and you do it together. And the course also focuses a lot on leadership, and there's a lot of like private coaching that you have, which is also such a privilege. Now that I think about it, it's just like, wow, that's so good that you actually have a coach working with you. And if you want to be a leader, any great leader needs to know themselves and needs to know their flaws. And I think what this program did for me was to really look inside as well. So that was great. And then also, I just threw all of those questions out about like where my career is going to go, what I'm going to do, how much am I going to get an X amount of salary raise, because you realize that it doesn't matter. All of that is just a byproduct of what you become through that process of studying. So I just think that like the being the CEO or getting like double your salary, I think all of those things are just byproducts. I don't even understand why we focus on that so much, because those things will just happen once you realize that you can work hard and you can get through a lot of stuff, and you can so I just think that that's really one of my big realizations, is that it's so much the process. The outcome just happens. Especially for me, coming from India, where you come from an educational context where it's like study, like you need to get the highest grade, and it's like teachers put a lot of pressure on you, students put a lot of pressure on themselves. It's like a lot. But I think the beauty of probably Sweden and also the Executive MBA, and it was actually a realization for me, it's like no one's really telling you to study. No one's telling you to do anything. You do it on your own because you want to, because you need to, because that is your goal. So, and I think that's really the beauty of this. Like, you need to be mature enough to understand that, look, you're here, you paid good amount of money. If you want to get something out of it, then you study yourself, you put in that hard work, because no one's going to tell you. They're just going to show you the direction. And also, I think it's quite inspirational to be in this group, because I mean, when I came in, I was one of the younger ones, and I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, all of these people are so amazing. Like, I haven't done half of anything that they've done, and like, it sounds like everyone has like really good like positions and designations, blah blah. But when you actually sit and study and start talking to people, you realize that like you're all in this journey together, pretty much in the same space, and you learn a lot from the other people in class, their experiences. So that was really inspirational for me to see, like women with 4 kids and like really big job, doing excellently well, and still coming in those classes and performing and like doing so good. So you're also in a space where you look at different people and you're like, wow, I want to be like that. And I think it's vice versa, because you just think that you are looking up, but it's quite mutual, that everyone's sharing their experiences and sharing their sort of journey. So yeah, I definitely think that it's a more mature education, and it's even structured like that. You're spoken to in that manner, like, this is for you, and you're in that environment that you really feel like, okay, I want to get as much out of it, because these are really good people, and in that 1 week you're not going to get that opportunity again. So yeah, and that I think is really quite cool. My coach had the patience and the understanding to really ask me the right questions, so sort of like walk me through it and help me get through the different phases. So in the beginning, I didn't really want to know where am I going to be in 5 years. It was other questions that I needed to ask. And then you have a coach that is mature enough or experienced enough to see that and say, okay, this is where she's at. And my coach was really great in putting me in touch with, like an ex-student who was in the same journey as me. And that for me was like such a game changer. When I look back, they're like moments that I think that, yeah, I'm so grateful that conversation happened. I'm so grateful that happened, because you don't think about it in the moment, but when you look back, I'm just like, yeah, that was so critical. So for me, it was just something as small as putting me in touch with an ex-student, so another student of hers who had already graduated, who was in the same space as me or went through something similar. All she did was just connected us. She just said like, you know what, I think it's great if you talk to this person. That's it. And that was such a game changer for me, because then when I spoke to that person, it was so many similarities and so many like, but how did you do this? And how did you figure this out? And yeah, and you have someone that's gone through that. So, I mean, just like, this is a small example of just something that made a big difference, but you have to have that experience to recognize it and say, okay, this is what's best for her. So it was very much a two-way process, and just from there, you build that trust, and it's a lot of reflecting. What are your values? What do you want to be? What kind of leader do you want to be? So, I mean, absolutely. Like, just now when I look back, it's been already a year since we finished, and I just think that, yeah, that's so good. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to be given materials of how to manage a team or how to manage conflict. How do you look at your skills as opposed to your team? So a lot of big stuff and small stuff, but overall, great combination for sure. And I almost think that you can take it for granted because it's just given a part of the program. But yeah, I mean, you do at some point realize that, okay, this is quite special. I need to really, be, I don't know, just like make the best of those sessions. You have to realize that, and you have to have people around you that understand that there is going to be a time in your life, or this time now going ahead, where you have to spend your weekends not going out for like a leisure day, but actually sitting in and studying. And even work-wise, you have to have a team that understands that you're going to be gone for about a week every month and a half, and then you come back with so much, your mind is just filled with a lot, and then a lot of like late nights of working and studying. So it's definitely important for your work to understand and support, and I feel like it was my boss and my team was great in supporting and understanding me at Volvo Cars. And even at home, it was absolutely amazing to have my husband just take care of so many things for me and just understand that. And that for me is quite a privilege. So yeah, very critical, very key. I think it's important to have those conversations before you start this, to say that, look, you're not going to have as much time. You're going to be more mentally like just occupied for this amount of time. In fact, when I would go for a school week, when I would come back, it would take me almost like a day to land mentally, because there's so much that you sort of like inhale in every way, like socially, academically, just a lot of good stuff. There's a Change Life project that you can do. And one of the big benefits is that you can do it within your own organization. And you actually have experts from Stockholm School of Economics looking into a problem within your organization and trying to fix it. And you can pay, I don't know how much money, and get McKinsey to do it for you, but then they're going to do that and leave. And probably at much more the cost. But here you're investing in an employee that then goes out and gets that information and gets these like experts that you can't even get anywhere else, that has this wealth of knowledge and experience and network to really look into certain issues or areas that are pain points. So that is a great opportunity that I don't think any company should let go of, for sure. And above that, it's just investing in your people, which I think is so critical. Investing in you and your talent, which then makes you feel like, I want to be in this company. I want to work here. I believe I brought a lot of value into the organization just by virtue of doing my Change Life project within Volvo, bringing in a lot of content and material from my classes into my team, showcasing it to my managers. When we went to Silicon Valley, I did a full case study when I came back on how it could benefit Volvo, the different things within marketing that I had learned as well. So there's a lot of opportunities. You just have to like look and see them. Like I said, when I started the course, I was asking very different questions, and when I finished the course, I was asking very different questions. And I think it's just this like sense of security in myself that that this program has given me, like this real, like, I feel really like firm on my feet, because I feel like I have the SSE as like a background to sort of like fall back on. And when I started the MBA, like I said, it was a lot about like, yeah, I'm gonna get like huge like jump in my salary, and like I'm gonna be the next like head of XYZ. But after, it was just like, it's a lot about the process, how hard you work, doing great work, and the rest just follows. So shifting my focus from a more outcome-oriented way of thinking to a more process-oriented way. I think that's what the MBA has taught you, if I can sum it up in a more like refined way. I think that's what it did for me. And the best thing was just, when you realize that God, you got through that, you survived, you can get through a lot. The main takeaway for me was just doing it, getting through with it. You get a lot more out of the MBA than just the academic knowledge. That is, of course, like the selling point of a lot of MBAs, but I just feel like business school should talk more about not just like how great your career is going to be, but just how it's going to affect you as a person. And yeah, it can really give you like a really solid foundation. For instance, I remember someone saying this to me that, what was it called? I think it was called like the screw you advantage or something like that in quotes, which meant that either if it's someone who is really, really rich, or it's someone who has really good education that has that screw you advantage, because then you don't feel so scared. You're less fearless, because you know that if all goes wrong, you can start from scratch, because you have that skill that you can go somewhere else and be like, okay, hi, I am this person, I know all of this, like, why don't I start something new? So I think that's one of my takeaways, the screw you advantage that it gives you, which I really feel that I didn't actually have, which now I feel so like it's fine. There's pandemics, there's so many things happening, people getting fired, but that's okay. You have that knowledge, the people, you have a network. You see the opportunities, not the problems.